Andre Ristano to come on up, and gentlemen, if you want to, we can. You want to do it up on the stage, Andre, or do it down here, or what you guys come down here?
Thank you. So each year, the ISA 100 Wireless Compliance Institute offers an award for excellence in automation. And typically, there's two categories that we look at. Early on, we had companies that were pioneers in the use of wireless, and they did a lot of research and compiled data and analyzed performance, reliability, that sort of thing. And so it was helpful in advancing the state of wireless in applications in traditional process industries. And other companies have done nice jobs in implementing applications in a novel way. And so this year, the Bahrain Petroleum Company fits in that category for novel use of industrial wireless at their Greenfield site. So on behalf of the board and the members of the Wireless Compliance Institute, I'm pleased to offer the award to the Bahrain Petroleum Company for 2018.
Just hold on. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Congratulations.
I'll ask the other panelists to come up, and we're going to need a few more chairs here. A full house, as they say. Okay, so I'd like to, I really want to thank you guys for hanging in there, and hopefully we'll get a lot of good discussion going here, and certainly if we run over by chance, hopefully you'll stay in and hang in there with us. Okay, we got, wow, you guys are really good about slamming them in there, okay. So normally I usually go, I'd just like the panelists to make a quick introduction of themselves. We'll start with Andre first, and then we'll work down this way.
So I'm Andre Ristano. I'm the Managing Director of the Automation Standards Compliance Institute, a wholly owned subsidiary of ISA. We operate conformity assessment programs. One is promotion and certification of ISA 100 wireless technology, and the other is conformity assessment to the ISA IEC 62443 cybersecurity standards.
And I am not Albert Royakers, so don't ignore that. I'm Chris Harlow. I'm the Bedrock Product and Customer Service Manager, and my entire focus is on convergence of open standards and cybersecurity in industrial automation. I have a background in both upstream and midstream oil and gas, and a lot of global applications.
We have one last, Hassan. Squeeze it. Hopefully you can see him back here. Maybe you can stand up briefly.
Yeah, my name is Hassan Aql. I am from Yokogawa, Middle East and Africa. I am working in the automation for more than 30 years right now, 33 years, and working with Yokogawa for around 20 years. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'll, now that we've let the panelists introduce themselves, we have a pretty good size audience, so I want to give everybody a chance to, don't be shy. If you have a question, you want to get some discussion going, please feel free. Otherwise, I've got some questions we can get the panelists started on, so here you go, thank you. If you could just introduce yourself and let us know who you are.
So I'm Odne Berolsen from Draeger, and I'm interested to know a little bit. I know for the Babco job, time was a constraint, but maybe the panelists can give some considerations. So for this project, maybe you could say a few words about how much time you estimated was saved by using wireless compared to doing a project with all the wiring, but also some of the time saved in future by having the flexibility of wireless in your sites to be able to scale without doing big projects with engineering and installation. Uh, basically, the wireless gives us big advantage in terms of deployment, and a scale of like 129 sensors we could deploy in very less time. It's hardly 2 weeks that we could deploy them. Uh, and also we have designed to scale up the access points and the system, which is behind the sensors itself, where we can add almost like per access point 100 devices. So we have still the scalability for future adding more sensors into the cells. Basically, the cell concept is giving an advantage that even in the future, if I want to have any other sensors, let's say I have a pump there and somebody calls it, there is a vibration measurement requirement, I just go and add it. And that is going to give us a lot of advantage in minimizing the engineering during that time. Yeah.
Okay.
No, as you said that the key to success in any digital environment is how do you engineer a robust infrastructure on a holistic basis. Don't look at now. Just look in a broadband so that tomorrow, for example, in the same area, tomorrow we want to just plug in some more additional, you can say the toxic sensors, which is not available as of now. Maybe once it's available, we can just go and plug and play. That's the thing. Design the infrastructure in such a way, like as Prabhala said, like your telephone towers. They go and put the infrastructure. They don't wait for the houses to come. So that when the houses come or anything comes, they just go plug and play. That's the thing. Thank you.
Well, yeah, mine might be a little bit quicker. We had a drilling package. We built the facility. We got everything up and running. And then we drilled 2 more wells. And then we brought in just rental equipment to get it kind of up and going. It's all on Wi-Fi. We had that connected within, I think, 12 hours. 12 hours. And then incremental costs, I didn't have to run any wire. I didn't have to run any wire. No electricians, no nothing else. Just plug and play and go as we go. And we could scale it up, which we liked about the scalability. But the same thing, you had to build that base first for the first well, which is your cost basis. And then after that, the more wells you add, the cheaper everything gets. So for me, it kind of made everything cheaper and better. So that's it.
Interject in terms of the wireless, that it's going to enable people to access, as he talked about the remote location involved there, it's going to be able to access ability to get data off the sensors for analytics in certain areas where it was either too cost effective or they couldn't run the cable out there or whatnot. So it's opening up real opportunities in my mind to downstream, to get the data and then ultimately turn that data, because ultimately what we care about is getting that data and turning it into something that people can act on and take decisive action and ideally save money, ensure safety, whatever the key criteria or metrics are. So, anybody else on the panel want to chime into that question or add any other perspectives, Andre or anybody that would like to? Okay, if not, then we'll see if the audience has any more. Well, here you go, right here, sir. Thank you. And if you could just introduce yourself and let us know who you are. And
Yeah, my name is Alan Ray. I am oil and gas, air energy. I have a question for David, Pitzer, Michael, and maybe Chris. So you've taken a oil and gas facility and you've connected the control system directly to the cloud. And I'm just curious on 2 questions. One, maybe Chris, can you kind of give a high level on how that system is protected? And then David, I have a question on the SMS piece. So you're making a statement that you're using SMS from your nucleus device. Is that correct? And then, is it working?
Yours might be a quicker answer if you want to hit on. Is it working?
Yeah, my answer is yes. No. Well, yeah, I can speak to that. Yes, we're utilizing SMS. The SMS functionality from our cloud services is different than like a local SMS. So Nucleus does have the ability to send out SMS locally. A lot of the SMS notifications that are going out are cloud-based. And that's because if you do lose communications, you want to make sure that your source isn't on the other side of that lost communication. So, yeah.
So Nucleus itself isn't sending out, you're sending out through Twilio?
We actually have our own set of nucleuses that are outside of the facility that we can communicate from our cloud infrastructure. So we are using nucleuses to send out text messages. It's not the one at the facility, though.
Thank you.
So in terms of security, I first want to just address the kind of misconception that wireless and/or cloud is less secure than wired, or maybe I should rephrase that another way, is that wired is not more secure than wireless or cloud connectivity. It all depends on where your trust starts. And if you can't trust where the source of the data is, then it doesn't matter what your connection type is, whether it's wired, wireless, going directly to the cloud, going through SMS, it doesn't matter. So what we designed was a control platform that had trust built in. It is crypto keys built right into the silicon of the chips that power that module. And what that allows you to do is say where the data is generated, let's authenticate that data to the known source and then encrypt it to send it up. So if it's encrypted and authenticated, we shouldn't really, from a practical standpoint, care where it's going or how it's getting there. We'll do the decryption and we'll check the signature on the other side. So that allows us to run this on what would be equivalent of a zero trust network. And if you are running wireless, that is the standard you need to meet. Even if you have firewalls in place, even if you have all cameras, spectacular physical security, all of that, if it's wireless, you need to make sure that nobody can piggyback on that signal at any point in time. Or if they can, they get nothing out of it. From our point of view, it was a PKI. This is how banks use the mobile platforms to transfer money from your cell phone to the bank. If it's that level of security in the OT world, you should be good going from the well site directly up to the cloud.
If anybody else wants to respond and to that question, maybe not necessarily specifically to that issue, but if not, then we'll, okay, we'll see if, you're up, back in the right corner there. Thank you, sir.
Out of curiosity, mostly for Dion, but some of
Thanks.
it's on. Okay, a curiosity mostly for Dion, but some of the other folks, maybe Bobco, have run into the same issue. The aspect of deploying a bunch of assets like a blender and all of the pump trucks, and then the associated instruments that are on each of those assets, typically has been done in an asset management tool for the asset, the original assets, but now you're trying to keep straight which signals you're getting from which devices as you're putting these systems together. Have you found anything that is useful for managing the cross changes in your systems as the systems age, as you change out material, as you change out assets?
Yeah, so very good question. Right now, our legacy systems allow us to really view, for example, a given frac job at one time. We can't really start combining data. Our new infrastructure is going to allow us to actually view and pull in data from multiple sources, whether it's a frac crew, multiple frac crews that are operating on well sites around the world, or if it's a drilling rig, multiple drilling rigs. And we've come up with a governance around that will allow us to identify each piece, each unit by each code and each sensor individually, and actually keep those separated. Because when you have 140 frac crews running at the exact same time, that can get very confusing. So we've had to introduce some architectural levels that will allow us to be able to identify exactly which piece of equipment is working on exactly which asset. And as for tracking, because we also do a lot of asset management, so we have all of our units, and that would include the tractors themselves as well as the trailer units, have individual code signals, so we can actually track each piece of equipment independently. So it was a challenge, but it was something that was actually thought through our IT group on how we actually will track each individual piece of equipment and each individual sensor, is we capture a lot of data into our data lakes, and it does all have to be coded properly. So.
Any of you guys also want to take a shot at that question?
Yeah, I think it's a real good question in the sense that there is always a chance that if you have identical assets, then you always don't know what is the origin. But there are ways to solve this problem. And traditionally, we have been using the Modbus in oil industry very well. And then the mapping issues were there. And the people used to spend a lot of time testing all these things. Now imagine when you have a remote location, you will get into more problems. So to avoid that, the technologies that are used is, entire file transfers in case of SCADA systems. Maybe some people are using OPC UA. These are the newer techniques which can, also send the tag names along with it, as long as the tag names are not duplicated. So that will answer these problems.
Anybody else want to take a crack at that, or? Okay. All right. Well, hopefully we're getting some good. Oh, right behind you, Sal. Right behind you. There you go. Thank you. Could you just let us know who you are, if you would? Thank you.
First of all, my name is Chris Sanchez. I am with ABB Industrial Automation, and congratulations on your award. And it's definitely and for your generosity for showing such detailed information about how you deployed it and how you executed it. And my question is, did you have concerns regarding the network stability? We've had some feedback in projects, especially in the Middle East, where, for example, sandstorms are a major problem over there, or in issues with the environment itself. And how did you mitigate the communication stability with your wireless network?
Yeah, I think this is a very normal question. Normally it comes up even when we are deploying, even within my own company. So when we deployed the first sensor in 2009, that was the first sensor on the wireless network. And since then, we have learned a lot. And if you know that 2.4 gigahertz doesn't get affected on the sandstorms, yeah. So that is what the technology has already known it, but it is the confidence of the people that has to be translated into. So we do a lot of pilots. So we did almost like almost 3 to 5 years, and then we have a historian for all the values that comes out of these tools in terms of RSSI or in terms of path stabilities, reliability. These were taken into an archive and they were studied for the entire season, just to give the confidence to the people and ourselves that these really do not affect, because the physics says they don't affect. So it's just about the confidence of the people that we have to gain. And this deployment, we have profusely used a lot of sensors. And that proves the confidence that has given or got into the company management, where they say, yes, we are sure about these things. We should be using it.
Go ahead. Sure. Can you pass that?
So yeah, on the topic of stability and reliability, there was another company that presented here actually a couple of years ago, Petronas, and they had ISA 100 wireless on offshore well being monitored by remote, another offshore well 5 kilometers away using a high gain antenna. They studied it during the monsoon season, and at the end, the data showed 0 packet loss on these floating platforms. So it's pretty stable, pretty reliable.
That being said, if there are instances where connection is lost, maybe not for environmental effects, but for any reason, a lot of the modern technologies and more advanced protocol communication protocols allow you to bring, lots of storage and lots of processing right to the edge location, right to where the data is, and use solutions like store and forward to, if the session is lost, just store all the data. When the session is regained, forward it along in subdivided packets so you're not flooding the network. But keep all that data so nothing is lost, even if communication is down for a temporary period of time.
So especially for the ISO 100 network, we're using it in safety applications. So I just wanted to mention in Norway, we have ExxonMobil on an FPSO that started using 5 years ago, using the wireless gas detection for a proof of concept. And then we did the entire turret to free up some cables on the turret. And they deployed the ISO 100 on the entire FPSO. And last summer, ExxonMobil was the first FPSO that was doing full shutdown on wireless gas detectors, voting on the same as the wired devices. So on that, it's counting in snowstorms and the Norwegian North Sea weather. So it's been proven quite well in use in all kinds of locations all over the world. That's a very stable network.
I'd like to ask Hassan a quick question. How is digital transformation achieved in your company at Yokogawa? If you pass the mic down. Thank you.
First, let me congratulate my colleague for the awarding. Second, in Yokogawa, actually, Yokogawa has make a program. It's called TF 2017 and TF Transformation 2020. The latest Transformation 2020 is depend about 3B. First B is be innovative value creator. And this is by making business model and the transformation of business model. Second, be trustable partner, be most trustable partner. And this strategy to work very closely with your customer and give him the solution, depend on the solution more than product. Third B is be global. Team together. This is actually will help customer for resourcing, for engineering all over the globally. This is a 3B actually is a strategy of Yokogawa, how to transfer to a digital transformation. Thank you very much.
And I have a quick question for Dion, because I know he's got a sort of a time constraint here, but I know, Dion, at our company, we see a lot of, particularly in manufacturing, oil and gas, a lot of the heavy process industries, the challenge of the gray hairs retiring, sort of the great crew change and the impact of the new millennials and coming up. And I guess, how do you guys deal with the competition against the Googles and the Amazons of the world to get that sort of, really good, rich talent that's coming out of school, and they're looking for that app on their smartphone and things like that? I'd just be curious to how you guys are, wrestling with that challenge.
So yeah, finding talent in the data science space is challenging. There's no doubt. We are definitely competing with those, Silicon Valley type companies, the Microsofts, the Amazons. In a lot of cases, we've actually partnered with a lot of them to utilize some of their services. And we're actually changing our culture. Certain parts of our company realize that they're really up against it, trying to bring in fresh young talent to look at data sciences. So they've actually changed the culture of even their individual product service line, where they've had more, they've changed their office space. They have a more of a Google approach. And that's even within our worldwide headquarters, which is in Houston. You'll see certain floors that will actually look different than everything else. And they're trying to cater to this young group that's coming in. So it is a challenge for our HR department. The other thing we're looking at too is taking a lot of our senior subject matter experts and then training them in data sciences, because you kind of need that subject matter expert coupled with the data science side. There are multiple approaches, and they're always looking for ways to actually increase that, to get more visibility kind of in that space to try and attract more talent. But I think it's actually an industry problem. Maybe not even so just oil field services, which is the segment I'm in. I think it's really an oil and gas issue. It's attracting really bright talent on the data sciences side.
Great, thanks. Quick question for Hassan. How can co-innovation help companies keep pace with the digital transformation that companies are encouraging and encountering today in the future as well?
Yeah, actually, connovation used by Yokogawa actually strongly, and it's like a mission for Yokogawa always. Connovation used actually, the big example of following the connovation is our cooperation with other vendor. As example, for wireless job, we are cooperative with Dragar as example, and the project actually started with some cooperation between us and the Dragar, and we did like a demo in our office and in our facility, and it was the beginning of the success of this project. This is actually our philosophy and our direction in the cooperation, connovation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to just open it up. Do we have anybody in the audience, Sal, that has a question they'd like to ask? Or I certainly can go back to... Okay, we got some few minutes left, and I'd like to maybe bring it back to Chris, I guess, to see... Bedrock's doing a lot of innovative things, and if I could just sort of ask you to kind of just sort of summarize in just a couple of minutes what a key takeaway you'd like the audience to take away from this session in general and in Bedrock in particular.
Well, yeah, so a key takeaway is certainly the industry is changing and data is being pushed more and more to the edge. And of course, that means that security becomes a bigger concern at the edge, but also technologies need to adapt and become more open to actually take advantage of that. These proprietary communication protocols and the solutions of the past really aren't working anymore. One, they've been stagnant for so long that they haven't kept up with the IT innovations and all that IoT solutions. And if you don't keep up with the IoT, you'll never keep up with the IIoT, because it doesn't make sense to reverse engineer a 30-year-old protocol to try and pass data from a sensor that was invented last year. So open communication between systems is really becoming the greatest strength of the future of the ICS world. So with that, it can't just be open, it has to be secure as well. We have to be using these technologies that IT has had to adapt to and work on and put them inside OT platforms and build the tools around them so that the traditional OT vendors and the OT maintenance people can understand and use. It needs to be simple, and it needs to be built in, and it needs to just work when it's powered up. Nobody questions how the password works on when you unlock your phone, even if it's a fingerprint reader or whatnot. It needs to be that simple and that secure, tied all the way into the OT sphere. Okay. And we are, to further answer your question on what we're actually doing in that, not just what everybody needs to do. What are we doing then to solve that problem? We're taking the advancements in silicon development over the last few years and bringing 64-bit quad-core architecture right to the edge, embedding crypto keys inside that architecture to allow for these advanced IT security solutions like authentication, like encryption, like public-private key infrastructure, so that right where the data is created, it becomes secured at that point. And as I was saying earlier, then can be sent anywhere without fear of it being intercepted, being changed, being read. So that's what we're working on right now and what we've made announcements at this ARC conference.
Pass it on. Andre, if you have any parting thoughts or takeaways.
Yeah, so putting on my my Security Compliance Institute hat, I can say that the Bedrock products are like the poster child of what secure system should be. But one of the things that we're doing in the Wireless Compliance Institute is we're trying to remove the barriers for adoption of the technology. So, for instance, you can go online and for like $25 buy a board to build simple IoT devices using Wi-Fi or whatever technologies. And so typically in the process industries, a lot of the instrumentation and the technology is robust, expensive, et cetera, and limited. But we embarked on a program last year to develop API, we call it a rapid development kit. So if somebody wants to kick the tires on wireless technology, they can buy this kit, and instead of taking 9 to 12 months to instrument a device to wireless, you can do it in 2 or 3 days. And this year we're going to launch bring your own device events where you bring your own device, you'll get a little kit and some training, and by the end of the day you've got a prototype wireless version of your device. So what we're seeing is adjacent industries adopting this, like the mining industry is very interested. Outside of oil and gas, we're seeing the product used for crane controls. It was used in satellite testing and actually the control system on a satellite, telecom satellites. So it's pretty interesting to see what's happening now.
Dion, why don't you take the mic and just maybe if you have a few takeaways you'd like people to take away from this about what you're seeing in the industry in general and specifically to Halliburton that you think that might be worth to them to take away from the event, this session.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest challenges that I've seen across our organization is really, we start talking about, everybody hears the buzzwords, and 95% of the employees that we have, that's all they really know about digital, is big data, analytics, the edge, maybe. And then we have, on back of the scene, we have this group of architects and programmers and IT-based people. And I've seen a real disconnect between trying to get that across that language barrier. So the businesses themselves are run by individuals that typically have operational backgrounds, and they're very good at their business. They understand it. They worked in that product service line for a long time. So really trying to sell digital, to get them to buy into digital, we really have to be able to speak that language. So that's where one of the reasons where I was brought into this group is I don't have an IT or an architecture background, but I understood the business. So I was able to talk to that level with the business folks to let them see the value in actually having kind of that digital swim lane in their forecasting, in their planning, and then be able to bridge the gaps with the practical side and then the IT architecture side. So that's one thing I would advise people is to understand that not everybody speaks the language that we quite often hear in these kinds of conferences. And a lot of our businesses are driven by the folks, the decision makers are in that category that they may not understand that. So, make sure we bridge that gap so they fully see the value in going towards digital and integrating that digital workflow into their, legacy workflows that they've been used to for so long.
So, would you pass that on? David, why don't you give us a couple of quick thoughts, if you would? We'll just pass it. We'll just go right down the line and we'll.
Sure. This maybe isn't a summary thought, but just listening, I think the issue of bringing in the next generation into the workforce, into the industry, is related to the emergence of the new technologies and the applications. As what we found at Tyrion is that bringing in that fresh blood, they know and love the new technologies. It's built into their DNA, and all they need is a little bit of education on process and the industry and understanding those kinds of protocols, and they're very receptive to that. But beyond that, they can really do, it's practically magic, what they can add to the technology, what they can add to the workforce. So I think those things are going to come together. It's not two separate problems.
not much more to add from everyone's been saying here, but mostly just to tie in that as an oil and gas company, starting from scratch, we're able to build everything and automate a lot of stuff and save a lot of money on savings on operator costs, plans and response times, and everything we're able to do with technology. So that was able to be used, is all used for our Wi-Fi, is used through Bedrock, through Tyrion, hooking it all up. It's possible to do it, and it saves me a lot of headache and make things a lot easier for us. So it's the proof that the technology is there, we can use it, we just have to do it.
BP?
Yeah, if you want a lasting solution, it has to be last. I say last because last starts from L, which is leadership. A means agility of a company. Your company has to be agile. You should have strategies, and the technology is the last. So technology should not push us. We should push the technology. We should look at the business value. Once the business value is there, the leadership should catch it and push the whole thing, and the company should be agile. Agile means almost everybody should know. Now we have heard Dion talking about it, like half the guys may not know what we are talking about, and we have to engage. I call it as 3 E's: engage, enhance, and evolve. And this has to happen constantly. It's not for today, this project, or this we started almost in 2016. We were talking about it. We are talking about wireless since 2009, when the first hard transmitter came, maybe after that. So this has to go on churning and see the application engineering. Application engineering is coming from the people who are standing there. They are the people who are contributing to it. And that's where the strategies, and they have to be lasting. Strategies are there to be lasting. It doesn't end in this project. It has to have a continuation and sustainability. That's what we want to say.
Well, I'm going to steal that last, so thank you.
Yeah, as all the speakers said, because in this era of digitalization, people are always skeptical. As he said, wireless, immediately we had a lot of issues when we tried to implement various initiatives. Right from the wireless, people are, even though it's all proven, that people are not willing to take up the bite. So we have to align the people, educate. There is no other way. We have to instill confidence, because people are just, everyone, as I said, everyone, they know a few buzzwords. That's it. But when it comes to, because in oil and gas, people are always looking for safety, operability, maintainability. So the technology, they don't take it that serious. They want to remain in comfort zone, always. They don't want to change. So we have to change the people, process, and strategy. And it should be always driven from top. That's the most important. For any technology or strategy to be successful, it has to be driven from top, not from bottom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, I would like to generalize something in the digital transformation. Once we said digital transformation, technology and products came to our mind. But digital transformation, in my opinion, and in general opinion, it has to be two aspects. First one is product technology. Second one is strategy. Company strategy and the way how they are planning, the midterm plan for the company. This is, in my opinion, the digital transformation meaning. Thank you.
Well, I'd really like to thank, first of all, the audience for hanging in there with us and having some really good questions. So my hat's off to you, and we'll still have plenty of, actually, believe it or not, we actually got, my last year's session went till 10 of 6. You guys, we managed to get done a little earlier. So, and again, I want to thank all my great speakers and my panelists for really imparting some really great information and some really good, thoughts for consideration, certainly for myself, and hopefully the audience took away some thoughts to bring back to their colleagues and their companies, and to, because I really think that the industry needs to continue to, not just the oil and gas industry, but certainly there's many of instances where oil and gas industry has learned from automotive and aerospace or NASA and things like that. So the more we can collaborate, obviously within without crossing antitrust issues, that I strongly recommend that. And I want to thank you guys again for a great job.